Welcome back to our assembly of our granny triangle bunting. What I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these 2-row granny triangles onto this piece of worsted weight yarn. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to affix them to this frame. This frame is an 8x8 frame. I picked it up on clearance from a local big box craft retailer. I paid a couple dollars for it. You can use anything you want. It doesn't have to be burlap. It doesn't have to be canvas. It doesn't have to be anything. You can really affix this to anything you can get a staple through. So I'm going to show you how I put everything together before we go ahead and get started. I'm not going to go ahead and use the staple gun because it is just so loud and I don't want anybody getting frightened or startled by the loud noise. It's startling to me and I'm the one doing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this over. As you can see, I'm putting a lot of staples in to anchor this. I've made some preliminary marks. I've put some on the side so they don't go anywhere. And I've also stapled this first and last piece of the bunting to our frame, and I'm doing that just so it's in exactly the position I want it to be in. Theoretically, what I could do is go ahead and tack down, especially the center pieces, with some needle and thread, but I don't think that that's going to be necessary. So here's what my first 2 rows look like, and I've done them on individual pieces of string so I can get them positioned just the way I want to. Your finished product is probably going to vary from mine, so go ahead and do a layout to see how you want your pieces to lay before you go ahead and put them onto your string. While I'm using yarn, you could use a piece of twine, you can use a piece of ribbon, you can use, you know, twine, ribbon, little strips of fabric, but I'm using yarn because it's what I have available. I thought ribbon would look really cute, but I don't know where my ribbon is right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna put this row on. I did these 2 rows with the needle and thread, and I'm not 100% sold on my placements. So I'm gonna do this 3rd row with my crochet hook. This is the same G hook that I used when I put together these little granny triangles. So I'm going to take my length of yarn. Let's get my hand positioned here through the tripod. So we're going to go, when we start on our left hand side from the front to the back of our triangle, we're going to go ahead, we're going to leave some yarn to put around the back and affix. So we're going to pull front to back, and we have this little loop here, right? So I'm going to move my finger placement, and then I'm going to take the long side of my yarn and I'm just going to go ahead and pull that through. So really all we're doing is we're making a little knot. I'm going to carry that along the back, and then I'm going to go from the front to the back. So make sure we get the whole thing. We don't want to pull our yarn too loose or too tight. We want to make sure it's just barely snug. We have our loop. We can use our fingers if our loop is big enough. We can use our tool if it is not. And go ahead and we'll just pull that through, and we'll give it a nice little tug. You want it to be firm, but you don't want it to be so tight that it puckers. So I'm gonna get my next piece, and we're gonna place it this way. We're gonna place the yarn in front. We're gonna go from the back to the front and get our loop and get our yarn and pull it through. Oops. That didn't work out as planned. I pulled the wrong side through. All right. So front to back. And then I'm going to pull my tail all the way through. Much better. And then I'm gonna go second side, front to back, pull my loop through, and then I'm gonna pull my tail through. see, this is producing a nice regular knot, just like these. So my distance between each and every single one of them isn't 100% the same. If you are going for a somewhat less whimsical or rustic look, by all means, please be very accurate with yours. So I'm going for more of a whimsical look. This is going above my first grader's desk for school this year. And I don't need it to be 100% perfect. So we're going to make it reasonably even, but without getting out our micro measuring equipment. So there's our next front. Now it's our yarn is in the back. We're gonna pull back to front, play loop. I'm actually finding that my hook is splitting my yarn, and that was kind of frustrating. And I don't want that, so I'm just gonna use my hands. And here's our last one, and then we're gonna go front to back. I tried going back to front as a test, and it looked really weird, and I didn't like it, so feel free to experiment. This is just how I'm doing mine. All right, and then we go to our last one. And then we're gonna pull this around and through. All right, so here we have our bunting, and I'm going to line it up. My original plans had it to be one side above the other. So when I go around the back, I'm gonna hold these onto here, and I'm gonna go around back, and then I'm gonna go ahead and staple these as needed. So I'll probably staple this one here and here, and then I'll clip it, and then the same with this. So that's how we go ahead and finish